And we are live. So, welcome to episode 268 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got only Bills are left alive. So no one's going to forget anybody's name that way, I suppose. So, you know, you got to look for the good in every bad situation.
That's
and
right.
We've got down there on the bottom, we've got John K. Alvarez, a.k.a. a moody pain in the neck. Thanks for joining me. We tried to get this going last night, but my schedule was so fucked up. I don't even think I walked in the house or sat down till like 7 o'clock. There wasn't enough time, but I appreciate you two sticking it out with me. And here we are tonight. So my thanks to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, always. One of the advantages of this show is that I can pick movies that I want to pick, and I try to pick movies, one, that are good and that have a story, and that also, coincidentally, it seems that the movies that are good and have a story are the ones that no one else talks about. And in this case, once again, we're talking about Jim Jarmusch's Only Lovers Left Alive. So if you guys are ready to go, shall we get it going?
Tally ho.
Boogie woogie. So I don't typically like horror comedies. I'm not sure this exactly qualifies as one. It's probably more stylish than horrific. There's not really much that's scary at all, but it poses some interesting questions that we'll get into in a little bit. Let's start with Only Bills. What did you think of the film?
I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I'm a big Jim Jarmusch fan. I'd never seen this one, curiously enough, so it was a good excuse to finally sit down and watch it. But yeah, it was touted as a horror comedy, but I didn't find it to be funny at all. It's a good Jim Jarmusch movie, and it's barely a vampire movie, because for the most part, it's just two people, contending with the world as it is. They just happen to have some extra powers. But it's a hell of a movie. Yeah, it was very stylish. Jim Jarmusch does that thing where whatever his current passions and obsessions are, he sort of just makes a movie about it. And I guess he was all about 2013. He was all about Detroit and classic guitars. But that was a really good idea. And I was interested that his band actually did the music. Wrote all that music that the main vampire was supposed to be writing. So I found that really interesting.
All right. And John, moody pain in the neck. What do you got for us? What did you think?
You know what? I saw this movie years ago, and I remember I had to watch it in two different settings because I remember feeling in the middle of it, getting slightly depressed. And I realized when I went back to it this time and watched it all the right way through, I'm going, well, of course, they're humanistic creatures.
Yeah.
This is the most human of a vampire dealing with depression in some cases. The other one bringing them out of it. I found some of it very humorous, but not like knee slapping, laughing real hard, but laughing at it going, my God, I've had the same conversations with my own family or people that I know. That's what got me the most. I had done in some of the research that they thought Jarmusch was thinking about actually having a whole lot more action in the movie, like fights or, display of vampires. And he decided to cut that out and play the more human aspect. And I loved that. I really do think that's what sells this movie.
There is a central question that seems to be the theme of the film, or at least one of them, which is that how do you find meaning in a life that never ends? For the average, for all of us here, you find meaning in, your family, or, maybe your wife, or your brothers or sisters, or, your friends, or, your relationship with God, or, maybe your, tendency to express yourself creatively. You have these things that get, maybe it's you collect things, and this is what do I enjoy, and this is, what gives my life fulfillment. But I think it always operates along the presumption that at some point, it's a fixed timeline. You don't know where the end mark is, but it is going to end. But here you have two people who seem to have permanently moved the end line out of place, and they're immortal. And so, can you keep adapting every 50 years, every 100 years? Can you continue to just fit in with whatever is happening and the way that humanity is moving? Maybe the course of 1,000. Can you do it 20 times? Could you do it for 1,000 years? It sounds interesting maybe for 100 years, but then by the time you get to maybe 200 or 300, or then you get to 500, and maybe you don't like the way things are going, or maybe like Tom Hiddleston, you're one of those people, because I think that they both had different ways of. I think the problem with Hiddleston's character is that he's sort of self-obsessed. He kind of thinks of himself a lot. And I think that leads to his depression. Like, he's one of those people that's stuck in his head.
Right.
Whereas Tilda Swinton's character is just she just loves people watching. Like in the beginning, she's in that coffee bar, waiting for John Hurt, and she's just watching people talk. And she's got stacks and stacks of books in her little non-fancy Tunisian apartment. There are no frills to it, and it's just she's paid learning things. There's just like an endless supply of knowledge and experience that she can go through. And Hiddleston just doesn't seem to get that. Like, that's not the way that he's feeling about it.
Well, she hasn't lost faith in people. He has. I mean, he keeps calling them zombies because he's surrounded by people who are just not awake and not paying attention. So that's like that's a soul crushing thing, Right. You find it interesting that both of them are living very simple lives with not a lot of. Well, I mean, he does have a lot of like musical instruments and stuff, but he's living in squalor basically. And you'd imagine, you'd have 500 years or whatever, that you'd have massive amounts of wealth, and you'd live palaciously and all that. And it's not the way they do it. He's doing it at all. He's just sort of in an apartment that any one of us would have, it's a little bit messy and stuffed with, the things that you're obsessed with.
And Eve, to go with what Michael was saying, and I agree with his point of view, she was adapting more. The first time she reached out to him, like with a phone, or one of the times in the movie where he reached out, she was on a cell phone. He had to click a button, everything to light it up on an older television.
Yeah.
he seems to the Adams character hits a certain point and said this would be a good place to stop. And it doesn't. The life keeps going on, and I think Eve follows that flow a lot, and he wants it. He would rather have it that it's, this would be perfect. Let's stop right here, And I think that's why he calls them the zombies, because he said they're all dead.
Yeah,
inside.
Well, it's that scene where they're in the theater and he's marveling at this 4,000 seat theater, and it's perfect place for him, Detroit, because it's just an amazing modern city that just sort of went to shit completely, and everyone abandoned it. The whole thing was almost completely abandoned in 2013. So he's marveling at all these things that the zombies let just fall apart.
And that scene was beautiful. That, to me, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, when they're looking at all this gorgeous thing and then they pan down and it goes, and now it's a car park.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, this is what I think that makes the movie so special.
Mm-hmm.
The monsters aren't dead to Adam. The world around them's dead. They're more alive.
Yeah. You feel like the humans are kind of the monsters.
Yeah.
I think if anybody they are the most human of all the people that you meet, although I do love Anton Yelchin's character.
Yeah.
He's sort of a familiar without being aware of it. He's just kind of helping, Tom Hiddleston. And I love Tom Hiddleston's performance in this.
Oh, God,
we're so used to seeing him play Loki, as the comedic role, but he has a number of these other types of roles where he really gets to act.
Did he do this before? Did he do this movie before or after he played Hank Williams? Because that was another just amazing performance.
Before, I think Hank Williams was after this movie.
Okay,
I got to double check down on that one. But
there's another series that he has out based on a Jean le Carré novel called The Night Manager, where he's like an MI6 operative. But it's a real low key assignment. He's like the manager of this hotel. And he's conducting, operations, in a real low-key kind of way. There are no over-the-top performances in this.
No.
Everybody is just kind of, playing their role. Yelchin, Hiddleston. I love Jeffrey Wright as the, I guess he's like the doctor, that, keeps supplying him with blood. I love the idea that they have evolved from just murdering people. They do have, and that was the thing, like Bill's talking about living in squalor. It's like voluntary squalor,
right?
But it's squalor with, as much money as you want. Here, I can give this guy $5,000 for a couple of bottles of blood. Oh, I can give Anton Yelchin, $10,000 to get me all these guitars. And like, I'm not a musical instrument guy, but even I looked at like some of those guitars and I was like, wow, those are just fucking beautiful looking.
Yeah.
Yep. You can find that.
Like Jarmusch, like visually, it's a very fascinating movie, because like even in Hiddleston's apartment and Adam's apartment, you're just like, there's just so much stuff.
Yeah, right.
There's just stuff everywhere. I love it. I love it.
And I loved how Adam and Eve, or Tilson and Hiddleston, when they looked at some of the older stuff, the pure reverence they had for it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like something they were collecting, it was something they heard.
Yeah.
And they knew when it came
all of it was being used. Yeah. All of it was being used, and it was appreciated as it was being used. Even though the music wasn't getting out there, he was still making this beautiful music with these amazing instruments. And the scene where they're touching the Gibson guitar was fantastic, where they're just laying together and marveling at the craftsmanship of this guitar.
Yeah, and like I have a nephew who's a musician, and he got to play a Les Paul that was autographed by Les Paul, and he didn't want to touch it in the beginning because he didn't think he was worthy.
Yeah,
at it, and the guy who had the guitar said, "Dude, he made it for it to be played." And these guys, these two characters, appreciate that.
It'd be like touching a weapon owned by Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
you're like, I'm not. I don't want to touch those nunchucks over there. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, that was also brilliantly done. And I keep forgetting the director's name. My apologies.
Jim.
He brought that in, especially in today's society where a lot of it's discarded.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to say throw away, but thrown away. He was showing that there is appreciation in some of this stuff.
Well, there's definitely a theme of nostalgia running through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, I felt it was like, like a wish fulfillment. Like, if we all had 1,000 years, we could get to this point where we're perfected personalities, where we have this appreciation. But most of us, by the time we even start to have a clue about this stuff, we're already, half a foot in a grave.
It's quite a. I enjoyed the fact that Jarmusch made a slow movie, and yet it didn't seem slow.
Right.
He made a vampire movie with no action, no horror, and it's fascinating to watch. There's just atmosphere throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
It's like really coiled and kind of tense, but not too much. It just keeps it at a certain pitch,
right?
That's elevated a little bit, but even throughout the whole thing. Hiddleston's character, is low to the effect that he decides to have Anton Yelchin, he's ready to kill himself.
Yeah.
Right.
He's thinking about it.
Right.
He's thinking about it. And, the idea, I really liked that when Eve shows up, Tilda Swinton. Now, I should mention real quick, I didn't mention this already. This show is available on Pluto TV. So if you get a chance to see this, if you're in the stream or if you see it in the replay, this is currently playing on Pluto TV. It's 2 hours long. It's absolutely fantastic. That she just has the ability to bring him out of this.
Right.
At least to some extent. I guess she couldn't be his wife for 500 years if, she couldn't do that.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I just want to say, it's not a lecturing kind of wife. It's not a, jabbing kind of wife. She just kind of understands what to do and she does it and it works.
Yeah. It's part of the relationship. Yeah. When the other one is feeling down or if the other one, you know what to do to perk him up. One of my favorite scenes when she's talking with him on the phone and she goes, "You're going to make me come out there and, fly out there and do this again." But then she said, "Yeah." And it wasn't like it was a complaint or a chore.
Yeah.
It was like, the genuine, "I love you. I will help you through this again." Yeah. And it's one of the advantages, like with some of the research I did, and I don't know if you're going to bring this up, Michael, later. But I'm sorry if you are, but she was older than him.
Yeah,
when she turned, type deal. And so with that, I don't want to say with age comes wisdom, but yeah, she knew she may have gone through this before she even met him.
Yeah,
type deal. So she knew how to help him. And it was done out of kindness, which is another surprising thing for a monster movie.
Oh yeah.
What did you think?
Really good. It's a really good, just a sort of a Polaroid of a relationship. It was really beautiful. And then he sets it up to where, all this beauty is just about to be destroyed by a real monster who shows up.
Yeah, well, before we get to that, I wanted to ask what you thought of John Hurt. John Hurt plays fucking Marlowe in this, and I thought that was an interesting take. He may be the oldest of all of them from the looks of it, because it's impossible to make him look like a 40-something. But I just thought it was great that he was Marlowe. He had these guys sort of existed under the radar,
right?
They never drew attention to themselves. They had gotten away from murdering people. It's easier. We've amassed wealth. We can just discreetly buy blood and drink it. I don't have to have a crime scene in my living room,
right?
And I get to live longer that way. Like they really have sort of created a system for themselves, and I loved seeing John Hurt again. I think it was one of his last roles.
Yeah, yeah. It was ironic because at this time, when this movie came out, he was also in the Doctor Who 50th anniversary movie, and it was out the same time, and he had cancer at that time. So he's doing his performance as Marlowe, because I've never got myself involved in arguments over who Marlowe was in the life of Shakespeare. But when he sits back and casually tells Eve, boy, I wish I met him before I wrote Hamlet.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was a great line.
I giggled because I'm like, and to me that's Tom Hiddleston. He's Hamlet.
He is Hamlet. He is. He can't decide whether to live or die. He can't figure out whether to live or die. Which one is it? Because if he picks one, he'll do it. But he lives right on that border. Yeah. And it keeps him in a constant depressed state.
It was brilliant when he quoted Hamlet when they showed up at his bedside. He's like, what a piece of work is man.
Yeah. And he and John Hurt's one of the few people I said, give him the dictionary, I'll sit and watch him.
Yeah.
Read it. Because he was just, and it was perfect for this movie that was full of subtle undertones and everything else. He played everything subtly. No over the topness, no, anger or screaming, type. He was just there, and it was perfect.
So Bill brought up an interesting point. We actually do get a fucking monster to show up in the second half of the film, and she's not so much of a monster as she reminded me of a fucking middle schooler.
She's an absolute fucking monster.
Yeah,
she knows what she's doing. She's being obstinate.
Yeah, well, that's what a middle schooler is. And Ava, and she played it. The girl who played her wonderfully.
Yes.
She is completely unlikable. She's like completely beautiful and just completely fucking annoying. And Hiddleston's reaction to her is absolutely what it should be at all times. Like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, we didn't invite you here. I don't like you. I haven't seen you in 100 years. I don't need to see you for another 100.
He's still got to be reserved because it's his wife's sister.
Right. And we all have those in-laws. No, I'm kidding.
He can't go balls out, insulting her. So I felt the frustration and the tension. Like he wants to say something but can't. He has to choose his words. That was some good writing right there.
There was so much said when Hiddleston and when Adam looked at Eve and said, shouldn't she be in a coffin by now with a steak? And I'm like, damn.
Yes.
And it was just, and again, it wasn't mean or malicious. He was just, seriously? And I loved that. And she was perfect because you got annoyed at her. And if you look back over your own life, you knew at least one person that was like that. You knew at least one.
A few, yeah.
And hopefully you weren't the one.
Yeah, and it's like, she's from LA. That's where she nests. That's perfect.
Yeah, it was also interesting that the blood was no longer safe to drink. Like that was like everything. It's contaminated, or like even Yelchin, when she eats Yelchin, she gets sick.
Yeah,
right. Like everybody's on something, whether it's SSRIs or drugs or wine or weed or everybody's just polluted with
microplastics and stuff like that.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, when Eva talks around, he said, I couldn't help it. He was so pretty. And then my stomach is sick. And Eve goes, what do you expect? He's in the music business.
Yeah.
I was like,
good line.
I was like, I've seen, especially for comedy or full blown comedies, like I think it was in one of them was Dracula Pain in the Neck, and there was another movie I saw where if a person was high and they got bit in the neck, the vampire bit him in the neck, they got high. This took it to the other extreme, though. This took it to where
was that the one with Jim Carrey? And
yeah, one was with Jim Carrey, and the other one was a Mel Brooks movie.
Once Bitten.
Yeah, Once Bitten was one. They did that too, and there was one called with George Hamilton playing a vampire in the 70s.
Oh, Love at First Bite. Love at First Bite.
Yeah, he bit somebody and all of a sudden was affected by the marijuana he was on. But in this case, it really was like, oh, I ate too much chocolate. It's what, that whiner thing. I love that.
I tell you now, if you guys don't have it, maybe you can get it on Netflix if you haven't. If you haven't had the chance yet and you're looking for a quality vampire series, I cannot stress this enough. Give the Interview with the Vampire series a fucking shot.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yes.
Dear God, it's good. I was just like, why are they doing this? Like, we don't need, and we have Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and Kirsten Dunst, and that was a good show. Christian Slater, no problem. One of my top tier, vampire. And then I watched this, and I'm like, oh my God, somebody loved that.
Yeah,
like whoever wrote that just loved it, and it's breathtakingly fucking good. It's really fucking gay. It's way gayer than Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt were doing. But I'm like, Lestat's ass is not in the book. What the fuck am I looking at here? But it is a fantastic, gory fucking vampire series. Holy shit. They're just not fucking around with that one.
Right.
If you want more vampire comedy, read Christopher Moore's Bite Me and what was the other one? Pain in the Neck.
Guys, carry on for a second. I'll be back in a second. Give me like 60 seconds.
Go ahead.
I'll give you a reference on something. I'm only going for like 45 seconds. I'll be right back. I want to grab a book and show you guys.
Yeah, sure. It's funny because when Michael mentioned Interview with the Vampire, the Kristen Dunst character, Ava,
I was
reminded me of a Kristen Dunst character, but she wasn't forgiving because the Kristen Dunst character in Interview with the Vampire was a child.
Yeah,
and this person just became.
She was physically a child, but she had grown mentally and emotionally way beyond that, but was frustrated that she was still just a little child. It's the opposite.
And when Ava was thrown out of the house and called the two of them snobs, I was like, that's just way too funny.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
I've been called that. Many times just for having my personality and my likes. And I do look down at some people who are satisfied with a corn dog and a Budweiser, and I'm called a snob because of that.
Exactly.
So are they snobs?
I don't know. They just have I don't know how to describe it. They're not mainstream. I imagine that there are more vampires like Ava out there that they're avoiding because they're just trouble.
That comes up in the story. She's like, when she finds the bullet, she's like, "Tell me this is for the others." He goes, "I never see the others. Ever. Ever. I'd stay away from like everybody."
Yeah. And that's how I feel. I don't really like hobnobbing with the others, But then when I'm the bad guy, half the time.
Well, the two of them are vintage compared to the others. Even besides the stuff that they collect, it's the way that they live.
Yeah, you got the sense that that's a very small circle.
Yeah,
they're in. Like it literally is like the three, like those two and Marlowe.
Yeah.
And then occasionally Ava pops in once every 100 years and fucks it up for a day. Yeah. And, they don't want to see her for another 100 years again. But that's basically it. Maybe over the course of 1,000 years.
And the two of them also have a sense of respect. Remember when Ava showed up, Eve said, it's dangerous to cross the threshold without being invited. Because she would,
there's a code. There's a code.
Eva's throwing the code or the out the window, and these two, they're not fervent followers of it, but they respect it.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of are, but they kind of aren't either. Like
Yeah.
that part where she's like, "Are you still afraid of garlic?"
Yeah.
Where apparently some things remain and some things fell by the wayside.
Yeah, but that's where but there's a sense of respect to it. And
I couldn't figure out what the glove thing was. In all my vampire years, I never encountered anything about vampires wearing gloves, and it seemed like such a common thing among them. They're all wearing gloves, and I don't know any vampire lore about gloves.
Hold on, let me see if I can look it up. Hold on.
I always felt it was, or at least somebody I knew who writes a lot of vampire content, it's the protection of the body itself. Because if something happens to the body, in some cases it won't grow back or reform. I mean, especially when they got rid of the one body by throwing them in, for lack of a better term, this fluid, and all of a sudden it was disappearing.
Wait, hold on. I just pulled this up. In Only Lovers Left Alive, directed by Jim Jarmusch, the characters Adam and Eve, who are vampires, wear gloves as a stylistic and symbolic choice that reflects their cautious, detached interaction with the modern world. The gloves serve several purposes: protection from contamination. So they're protected from the contaminated blood of humans in the modern era, which can make them ill or weaken them, because that's how Marlowe dies. The gloves symbolize their need to avoid direct contact with the world they perceive as diseased or impure, both physically and metaphorically. Aesthetic and timelessness. The gloves contribute to the film's gothic, anachronistic aesthetic, emphasizing the vampire's century-old existence. They evoke a sense of elegance and detachment, aligning with Adam and Eve's refined, almost aristocratic personas as they navigate a decaying contemporary society. Tactile distance. Gloves create a barrier between the vampires and the world, underscoring their emotional and existential isolation. They touch things, objects, people, or each other carefully, as if preserving their own essence or avoiding the chaos of humanity. And practicality and context. In some scenes, gloves may also serve a practical purpose, such as when handling rare objects like Adam's vintage instruments, or engaging in their secretive blood acquisition activities where cleanliness and discretion are paramount.
Right.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But too.
I bet you.
You guys come on next week wearing gloves. Yeah, don't do that. Don't.
I bet you if this movie was re-released during 2020 during COVID, it probably would have went. No joke intended. It probably would have went very well.
I did like that he was, when he goes to see Jeffrey Wright, he's Dr. Faust.
Yeah.
And then he's Dr. Caligari.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Did anybody?
That was a great scene where he's like, "Your stethoscope." That's like from the 1970s. He's like, "No,
it could upgrade a little."
Jeffrey Wright is always great. Ned, he's only in here for like 5 minutes, but like he's great. He's in the two scenes that you see him, especially because Tom Hiddleston keeps sneaking up on him. Like he's not doing it on purpose, but he's just standing there. Oh, you keep doing that.
And one of the things I loved was at the last scene where he has the wad of cash and he just throws it up and boom,
right into his lab coat.
Pocket, man.
Yep. Hey, man, it's good work if you can get it.
That's right.
I thought it was cool how they brought werewolves into it.
Yeah.
Oh, with the coyotes?
They're the lichen. They said they're
tracking you. Werewolves. And then she's like, "Yeah, I think they're clocking you."
And he goes,
like,
they're
all over Detroit.
And they're all over Detroit. I'm like, damn, man.
One last thing. If you are looking for a good Dracula book, go with Kim Newman's Anno Dracula. Fantastic story that starts off with the premise that from Stoker's story where Dracula comes to London and what would happen if he actually succeeded, and he defeats everyone. It's about a 10-book series, but everyone, you can read them all independently of each other. But the first one, Anno Dracula, the absolute best.
There you go.
Great stuff. All right. Is there any scene in this film that you would like to discuss that we have not gotten into?
No.
Right.
It's we touched about it, but I really did enjoy the music.
Yeah.
Not just the music being played, the discussion of music. They said when he talked about, did you show this to Schubert? And I mean,
yep,
a lot of that detail worked for me. It really, added to the texture. Michael, you were talking about it before about the way this movie unfolded like a piece of music to me.
Nice.
Started off one way and then just kept going and going and going.
Yep.
And I also love the fact that they weren't afraid to show how frightening they could be when they were in the one city and Adam and Eve were walking and the guy's going, I got what you need. I got what you need. And Adam leans in and goes, you don't have what I need.
Right.
And that was the first time I went, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part he reminded me of the vampire type deal.
The thing,
and that was done so well that it played off perfectly.
One of the things I love about Jarmusch movies is that he's always telling a story, but he's also sort of like a museum guide. Like he is trying to share with you the things that he loves very much. And this movie went a little overboard with it, I thought, but it was still like, I like the part where he's playing the record, and you get into that. Like we said with the car park, that was the 4,000 seat theater. It was just amazing, all the cool stuff that he likes to share with his audience. Just like, here, check this out,
Yeah.
I love that they drove past Jack White's house.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. There's no reason for the vampires to drive past Jack White's house.
Except for Jack White.
And then they appreciate him. Oh, I love Jack White.
Yeah. Oh, little Jack White. Yeah.
I thought that was great.
All right. Let's get to the part in the stream where we rate the film. This series or this channel has a rating system that goes from 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather wear slimy socks than watch this movie again. All the way to 5, which is this is the journey, this is the destination, this is why I watch films in the first place. Only Bills Left Alive. What would you give Jim Jarmusch's Only Lovers Left Alive? I'm not sure who borrowed whose name here.
I would give a 4.5. It's not 100% a 5. I would love to give it a 5, but like I said, there were some parts of this film that dragged a little bit that were unnecessary. Even though it's a wonderful atmospheric ride, I love the movie. It is not one that I would go back to over and over in the same way that I do with Mystery Train or Night on Earth or even Dead Man that I watch over and over and over, and I would give all 3 of those 5s. But this one, 4.5, definitely, it's up there. It's one of the best movies he's made, and 4.5.
All right. John K. Alvarez, a.k.a. Moody Pain in the Neck. What do you got for us?
On this one, Bill, I'm going to disagree with you on it. I'm giving it a 5.
Okay.
All right.
Because I would see this again. I was just thinking when I saw it today, when I got back from rehearsal, I sat there and I said, why am I not watching this more often?
Mm-hmm.
It does fit into a style of movie that I like. Did it go slow at times? Yes, but I didn't feel like I was dragged or I got bored or I wanted to get up from it. I really started taking it more in. I agree with what I had said earlier, which is funny. I agree with myself. That it unfolded in front of you. That it unfolds in front of you. It doesn't hit you jarringly. It just comes out, subtly. And I think that works.
I am going to go with a Let me talk for a minute. I enjoyed this film a great deal. I don't go out of my way necessarily to watch. I will watch Jarmusch films. I love Ghost Dog. I love Dead Man. You know, what was the one? Coffee and Cigarettes with the little vignettes. I love the one with Iggy Pop and Tom Waits. You know, there's just a lot of great stuff out there. I don't watch them a great deal though because they are so stylish that like I need some time to just like be in a place where I can just sit down and watch it for 2 hours. I'm going to go with I want to almost say a 4, but I want to go with the 4.5 because I think it does deserve
it does
the higher score of the two. And if John can go 4, yeah, 4 doesn't. If John can go 5, then 4 doesn't feel right. But it's not Lawrence of Arabia, as I always say, or Apocalypse Now, which I would get a 5. Like those are five movies to me. Ben-Hur, you know, that kind of stuff. That's a 5. But yeah, I go 4.5 and be content. And you've actually made me pull up. I realize I don't have a copy of Dead Man. I may have to buy a DVD because it's not one of those. It is great visually. I don't know if it's great enough to. It's hard to find a cheap Blu-ray sometimes. So I don't know if I want to pay full price.
Hey man, any movie that has Gibby Haynes and the Butthole Surfers copping a bee in the alleyway, that deserves a Blu-ray on your shelf, man. I'm sorry.
You might be right there. You might be right. I hadn't factored that into my decision making. I'll have to rethink it and take a look at some of these prices. All right. Is there anything? Only Bill's left alive. Plug something. Anything going on?
I got a new band. They're called Soup Sandwich. They've been around for a while. I'm brand new with them. We're probably going to play a gig somewhere in Monmouth County in the next couple of months. So look for us. It's called Soup Sandwich. It's a classic surf rock band, and
that sounds like fun.
Jersey Shore.
Hey, man, if you get some gig dates, post them on the group. I can take a drive now, especially on a weekend.
No. Is it Soup Sandwich or Soup and Sandwich? I'm sorry, Bill. Sandwich. Okay, no, you blanked a little bit there. I'm going, I love that name. I really do.
That's a good name.
I thought of it, but you know, I'm just joining the band. I'm not forming the band, but it's a lot of fun playing all these old songs, and makes me feel like Adam with his guitars.
All right, John K. Alvarez. Anything going on?
I am plugging something for this weekend. This weekend, I've done this before at the studio space, which is at 112 Woodland Avenue in Summers Point, New Jersey. We're again doing Derby Day. Now, Derby Day was a musical, not a musical, a movie script that the guy Bill Sterrett, an award-winning playwright, had written. And the past 4 years, he's been changing and adapting because he's trying to perfect it. And what he's doing is that he's doing it in front of a live audience or a Zoom audience to try to work it down as a stage reading. Now, this year, he has a stage company called the SPQR Stage Company. And this is the 5th year that he's at this studio space in Summers Point. So for this year, it's the first show. He's offering that if you're a frontline worker, a doctor, a nurse, and stuff like that, you can come in for free. If you're a high school or college student, you can come in for free. If you show up at the door and say 5 or give me 5, instead of paying the standard ticket price, which is $20, it's $5 at the door because it's the 5th, the 5th season. He encourages people to come in dressed in derby gear, the hats or whatever they wish to wear. He offers drinks and food that are there. And it was funny because that's why my voice is a little hoarse. We've been doing a bunch of different rehearsals. And I did last night, I was having dinner with the cast, and Bill walked up to me and called me aside and said, I got a very dumb question to ask you as a playwright. Do you think this play could be turned into a musical? And I sat there and I said, dude, I'll be honest, when I read this version, it could work if you had the Broadway budget. I mean, because there's horse races, you got to really go with the puppeteering and everything else. But it's funny, it's genuinely humorous, and it's also a very good romantic story and ballsy. There's a lot of stuff that's in this. I'm impressed that they're putting on stage. So it's this Saturday, which is Derby Day. It's 2:00 in the afternoon in the address in Summers Point. And if you get a chance, stop out and see it. Or if you can look at the website of studiospace.com, you can see it on Zoom.
John, if you
last year when we did it, Broadway World, which is a magazine, nominated us for best ensemble show.
If you have a link, text it to me, and I'll see if I can put it in the description.
All right. But it's it's a good show.
All right, sounds good. So try to, if you're local and in the area, try to make it out there. For this channel, let's see. This past weekend went to see a great show. I went to see Nick Cave over there at the Met.
Right on.
And put some videos together as a highlight reel on this channel on American Werewolf from that show. So there's about 30 minutes of concert footage there on the YouTube channel. So go check that out. I'm going to another show this Monday, and I hope to maybe do the same. Maybe as I start to catch some more shows, start to put some highlights up there for people to enjoy if you're into good music. The snob in me, I meant to relate this before we went into plugging things, came out the other day because somebody at work asked me, this new kid that we hired, I've been telling people about, and he does like marketing and shit like that and advertising. And I told him who I went to see. He goes, "Oh, yeah, the guy from the Harry Potter song." And I almost slapped the shit out of him, like right there in the fucking...
Yeah.
That's funny.
Motherfucker, just get away from me. Just get the fuck away. You fucking 25-year-old fuck, before I choke slam you. Just go away.
Strikes again. Harry Potter and the adults should have read another book by now.
It's a great fucking story. And I've never seen actually you've been that wrong about something, but I didn't appreciate because he does get a song in the last movie. All right, so that video is up from the Nick Cave concert at the Met. So that's up. This will be up Friday. Tomorrow I'm going to see Marvel's Thunderbolts. So I'm hoping to get a review up. That looks like it's going to be fun and a good popcorn action movie. No frills. And then on Tuesday, I believe it's Tuesday, Spider Dabrowski, writer and film director, is going to be returning to the show, and tomorrow is the wrap from his latest film. And Spider has kind of blown up. He went from being the screenwriter for a Tubi original movie, which was a horror movie, which was pretty good, to now being a full director. And his last movie had Eric Roberts in it and like Doug Jones, who played like Abe Sapien, and like 2 or 3 other people that were in it. And I was like, oh, shit. So he's got Doug Jones and a bunch of those people back again for a new horror movie called The Weeping. So I'm looking forward to having Spider back on the show. And then I think Wednesday, and I have to figure out if I'm going to do this or not, I'm thinking about covering The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
There you go.
And I'm looking at doing it from a perspective of faith. And I was a quarter of an inch away from actually having a Vatican exorcist on the show. But because he's actually in Italy, we can't swing it with the time frame. So I'm going to have to figure out how to set that one up. But that looks like it's going to be happening next Wednesday. So I'll keep everybody posted on that before we get to tomorrow night. So people, if they want to join, can have time to screen the film. I think it's playing on Pluto TV or Tubi or something.
Right.
So it's going to be a busy few days in the next week, but I'm looking forward to that. My thanks to Only Bills Are Left Alive. My thanks to John K. Alvarez, a.k.a. a Moody Pain in the Neck. That will be all for this one. We will see you all in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. God bless you.
Bye.
Peace.
Hey everybody, this is the American Werewolf. Thanks for stopping by. Like the video, leave a